In a previous video we talked about the creator Thomas Kole and his reconstruction of Tenochtitlan. Now, we will confront this with some historical aspects. This will clarify some doubts for us, but also leave us with new questions. The slain Spaniards. While Tenochtitlan was under siege, there would have been battles all around the lake and gradually pushing the Mexicas further into the city. And of course, we have some accounts like that of Friar Bernardino de Sahagun, which speak of the capture of some Spaniards. And the other Spaniards fled with the barges to the high water, and the prisoners were disarmed and stripped, and they were taken to a place called Texcoco, where their hearts were taken out in front of the idol, and other Spaniards were watching from the barge as they were killed. And then they took the other captive Indians and brought them to a place called Momosco, where they killed them one by one, taking out their hearts. They placed their heads on sticks in front of the idols. These types of accounts have several credibility issues, because if we compare the reconstruction with these accounts, it's not as if the view of Tenochtitlan was unobstructed. There were canals, trees, houses on the chinampas, and temples that blocked the view. And for those who had been to Xochimilco, they would know that, just like in that area, Xochimilco has houses, crops and many things that prevent you from seeing that into the distance. It's worth noting that the Spaniards referred to the temples as cus, most of which were needless among the chinampas. But if these accounts are to be believed, the Spaniards in the barges could have had to be close enough to witness the deaths of their friends. But in the midst of such a battle environment, it would have been very risky to be so close, because enemy canoes could have swarmed them by the dozens, in addition to projectiles of all kinds. And let's not even talk about how visibility would be if those who claim to have seen their friends being sacrificed were on one of these lake shores, where they obviously would be able to see anything from a distance. I emphasize this point of visibility and distances a lot because many chronicles speak of events inside and outside the besieged city as if they were only a few meters away, even though they would actually be on the lake's shores, or at the opposite ends of the great causeways leading to Tenochtitlan, distances that wouldn't allow them to see most of the action. Now, another complication arises from the transcriptions made by Sahagun of the events. This friar obviously wasn't present at any of these battles since he arrived years after the events, and what he wrote down was told to him by third parties. It is impossible to know whether what he was told was true or false. Even in the case of the accounts of Cortes or Bernal Diaz, who would have been present in the war in Tenochtitlan and therefore eyewitnesses, their narratives describe many things as if they were everywhere. They talk about events in Texcoco, Tenochtitlan itself, or other parts of the massive lake. This would have been impossible as the lake was enormous, and traveling by land, water, or along the shores would have taken them hours. They couldn't have been everywhere to gather so much information to include in their narratives. The 3D reconstruction clarifies it that this was an enormous space, and those who spoke of the battles throughout the war could never have been everywhere. They didn't have drones to fly over the city and see what was happening inside it. and even later chroniclers would have no authority to speak about something they didn't even experience, as was the case with Sahagun. Where was Cuauhtémoc captured? The common belief is that Cuauhtémoc was intercepted with his entourage in canoes while trying to escape from Tlatelolco on August 13, 1521, seeking to flee to the east. He was intercepted by García Holguín's brigantine, as described by Bernal Diaz del Castillo. Unlike García Holguín, who was the captain of a brigantine, a friend of Sandoval, he ordered him to follow the direction they told him Cuauhtémoc was heading with his large canoes fleeing, and our Lord God wanted García Holguín to catch up with the canoes and piraguas in which Cuauhtémoc was. Unfortunately, the evidence of the exact location of Cuauhtémoc's capture has led doubts when compared to the 3D reconstruction. Several main avenues of the subsequent capital of New Spain, now Mexico City, respected much of the layout and boundaries of Tenochtitlan. One of these is today's Avenida del Trabajo. In the 3D reconstruction, we see a street where the Chinampas end and the lake begins. This boundary was to the east of the city, and in this area is present-day Tepito, formerly known as Tepiton. What is significant about this area in the historical of Cuauhtémoc's capture? Today in Tepito you can find the Church of the Conception. It is said to have been built on the site where Cuauhtémoc was captured while attempting to escape the city. So, it is believed that Holguín captured Cuauhtémoc in this area, and there is a plaque on a wall on the church commemorating this event. Indeed, over time, various paintings depicting the moment of Cuauhtémoc's capture were created showing his caravan being intercepted on the lake. Initially, the portrayal seems normal. However, according to the chronicles which later influenced artworks like this, it gave us the impression that the capture took place in open water. Nevertheless, the 3D reconstruction and the actual location of the Church of La Conchita, as it's also known, challenged these ideas. In the current city layout, Avenida del Trabajo, the boundary of Tenochtitlan 500 years ago to the east, ought be located here, with water beyond this point. However, the position of the church, where the capture is said to have occurred, is here. In other words, 500 years ago, the church would have been amidst the Chinampas of Tepiton, and not in open water. In the 3D reconstruction, the church location would be approximately here. This geographic perspective would completely change the nature of the events and how it was interpreted in paintings. If the location of the capture is indeed accurate, one would have to imagine Cuauhtémoc and several canoes not in open lake, but in a Chinampa area. In front of them, there would be some not very wide channels of Tepiton, with a few brigantines and several support canoes. This would mean that at that moment and in that location, there would have been a bustling traffic of boats in the area, with Chinampas on all sides, in front and behind, much like what you see in modern-day Xochimilco. This would involve dozens, perhaps hundreds of people at that exact moment and in that place. Therefore, either the location of the church as the site of the capture is incorrect, or the narratives depicting the evento in the middle of the lake are inaccurate. We might never know where the capture truly occurred. regarding the 78 buildings of the ceremonial center. Throughout history, many have attempted to reconstruct the ceremonial center of Tenochtitlan, creating models and of course the current 3D reconstruction. Everyone agrees that the ceremonial center is considered to be what's within this rectangle, containing most of the main temples, schools, and Mexica sanctuaries in the entire city. However, all reconstructions have fallen short so far. If we refer to the number of buildings within the ceremonial center, once again Fray Bernardino de Sahagun provides information in Appendix 2 of Book 2 of his General History of the Things of New Spain, where he mentions 78 buildings. Of course, as we mentioned earlier, he did not witness the place in its full splendor, and he even repeats the names of some of these buildings. However, archaeologically only about 36 structures, including small altars, moderately sized buildings and the Huaytocali Great Temple, have been detected so far. In the 3D reconstruction we see at most 25 to 28 buildings. This is not a criticism of the creator, as even Ignacio Marquina's model actually shows only a few buildings within the ceremonial center. The absence of many buildings could be precisely because we do not know everything that is buried underneath. The current surface is buried under the colonial and modern buildings of the city, and only gradually, without being able to demolish the colonial buildings, have some of these structures been found. The most always keep these uncertainties in mind in many aspects. For example, thanks to new discoveries, the location of one of these supposed 78 buildings was debunked. The temple in question was the so-called Templo Cónico de Quetzalcóatl. Before its discovery, it was theorized to be located in front of the Templo Mayor, and it was believed to be situated right between the two altars of Huitzilopochtli and Tlaloc. It was thought that during the spring and autumn equinoxes, the sun would rise behind the two sanctuaries, illuminating the tip of the Templo Cónico de Quetzalcóatl. This belief persisted for a long time until remains of this temple were discovered in 2017. The discovery of the Templo Cónico de Quetzalcóatl and its orientation towards the Tlaloc shrine indeed led to corrections in previous reconstructions. Thomas Kole's reconstruction reflects these adjustments, showing the Templo Cónico de Quetzalcóatl to the left, contrary to the previous belief. The discovery of the weights on Pantli, which has also been incorporated into Kole's reconstruction, further illustrates how each new finding can modify our understanding of Tenochtitlan. This underscores the idea that almost anything can be altered with each new discovery, and these reconstructions are neither definitive nor immutable. Doubts persist, such as whether there were truly 78 buildings as Sahagun mentioned. The truth is that each new discovery in this area can refine our understanding of the real Tenochtitlan and improve future reconstruction efforts. There are still several aspects that emerge from this reconstruction when compared to historical sources, and this will be explored in the final video of this series. So, stay tuned for that.